For joining us. The time is now 7:36. So thanks for your patience, and we will begin open session. I'm asking everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. First up this evening is our agenda-related public participation. Marilyn, do we have any agenda-related comments tonight? Okay, no, thank you. Great. That concludes the agenda-related public comment section. Next up, we have LTEA President Andrew Johannes.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Hey, Andrew.
Nice to see everyone. Sorry I missed you last month. So this year has started very well, and it seems to be more normal. It would appear that everyone has benefited from the new vibe, as students would say. Teachers believe the return to normalcy is in part due to the reinforcement of school policy and procedures, especially attendance and tardies. We teachers would like to thank all of the assistant principals, Dara Mathis, Kelly Dostal, Adam Davis, and Brian Radovich. Teachers truly appreciate their efforts this year. It would be remiss of me if not to mention the students. The lion's share of the credit for the school year feeling more normal goes to the students. We are fortunate to have such amazing students here at LT. Every day they step up to new challenges and handle them with dignity and grace. A true testament to the character of our student body. I would like to highlight some examples of collaboration between the administration and faculty. We are grateful for the opportunity to discuss and share our ideas. There have been 83 staff members participating in as one of the 5 teams of the strategic plan. Drew Eder, the division chair of student services, is working with teachers and counselors to discuss the level change process. So thank you, Drew. Leslie Owens is working with teachers to review the student handbook. So thank you, Leslie. And also thank you, Dr. Waterman, Dr. Tyrell, and Scott Eggerding for meeting with the exec board to discuss our concerns and make changes to the school calendar. As a result, the LTA supports the proposed calendar for next year. Teachers hope this spirit of collaboration will continue into next semester as we approach our negotiations. Finally, I would like to recognize some achievements of our amazing teachers. Chris Thomas and the WLTL for winning the best high school radio station in the country. That's an amazing accomplishment. Bob Sherman, he's a physics teacher here. He recently completed his dissertation. Nicole Lombardi, teaches creative writing, and one of her students, Lucy Dillenbeck, had her piece, 5 pieces, recently published. The World History Teachers hosted a religious panel of various religious leaders to discuss the religions with the students. This is part of their unit of study on world religions. Blake Sauter and Greg Elwood took a dozen students to Dubac Electrical Group and Del Solaris Inc. in LaGrange Park for Manufacturing Day for 2022. Jack Becker and the students of Home Maintenance and Repair applied their skill sets to the transition house by updating 3 upstairs bedrooms. Students in ELL History, U.S. History, researched their family's immigration story and presented the powerful stories about assimilation, prejudice, and their own experiences in America. And finally, congrats to Tom Swantek and Liz Martinez for running the Chicago Marathon. So that's all I have, so thank you, and have a good night.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Great. That's amazing work. Next up, we have the student representative to the board, Matthew Walsh.
Thank you, President Hill. Starting with athletics. Girls varsity volleyball is continuing to dominate the court with a win against Lee Warrenville. Also, the girls volleyball teams had great wins against Oak Park River Forest at the annual Peacock game on September 27th. Boys varsity soccer is having a fantastic season with an exciting win against Easdale Central on September 20th. Congratulations to both the boys and the girls golf teams who performed very well at their regionals, with the girls taking home second place and the boys being named this year's IHSA regional champions. The LT swimming and diving is also continuing to have a phenomenal season, with a huge win against Glenbard West and South on September 22nd. Varsity football is currently 6-2 with a win against Proviso West and a win against Leiden at the Peacock game on October 7th. All these games had amazing halftime performances from marching band, spirit cheer, competitive cheer, and honks. The freshman football team had a 19-7 win against York at the homecoming game on September 24th. And seniors were celebrated throughout many sports and extracurriculars this month for all their hard work and dedication over the years. Now moving on to extracurriculars. On September 21st, the 10th annual Mr. LT was announced, and it's me.
You're supposed to put it on, Matthew.
I thought you were going to wear it.
All right. All jokes aside, the pageant raised close to $5,000 for the Jack Kunkel Memorial Scholarship Fund. Clubs such as Prism, Marching Band, Hockey, Spirit Cheer, and so many more had floats at the homecoming parade, which took place on September 24th, with the football game and the dance following soon after. After the homecoming soccer game, there was a stunning fireworks show at Bennett Field. On October 9th, as Mr. Johanna said, LT's radio station, WLTL, was named the best high school radio station in the nation at the John Drury Awards. WLTL also took home first place in 4 individual awards as well. LT students have had a great time mingling with the German foreign exchange students currently at Lyons Township. There are currently 15 German students shadowing different LT student leaders until this Friday. Language and culture clubs participated in the World Cup soccer tournament at South Campus. Latin Club took home the Golden Squirrel Trophy. North Campus choir students have been preparing for their concert, which takes place tomorrow, October 18th at the Reaper Center. And choir students and a cappella club will also be performing some of their songs of their choice at the Monster Bash on October 25th in the Corral. Juniors took the PSAT last Wednesday, October 12th. Students interested in a career in the military will be taking the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test on November 1st here at LT. LT Chess Theater students have been hard at work with their play, titled The Shop Around the Corner, which opens up this Thursday at the PAC. Snowball participants and leaders are getting ready for their fall retreat, taking place from November 4th to November 6th. And lastly, students are starting to prepare their talents and auditions for the variety show, which takes place on November 18th. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. That's amazing. Appreciate that. And congratulations, too. So next up, we have our superintendent's report with Dr. Waterman.
Thank you, President Dillon. I definitely can't compete with wearing a crown like Matthew. So let's try to highlight some things happening here this month. So we're excited to announce that LT named 391 advanced placement scholars. LT offers classes in 29 different disciplines, and our 391 AP scholars are recognized for their accomplishments. We had 165 students that scored a 3 or above on 5 or more AP exams. 84 students scored a 3 or above on 4 or more exams, and 142 students scored a 3 or above on 3 or more AP exams. So just awesome accomplishment for those 391 students. We're also excited to recognize 10 LT students for earning the distinction of National Hispanic Scholars through the College Board. These students have achieved a GPA of 3.5 or higher and have earned a score of 3 or higher on 2 or more AP exams. Congratulations to Drew Escamilla, Isabella Ferraro Cadena, Sofia Garcia, Alexander Goakovich, Olivia Greffenstedt, Ruben Guevara, Samuel Kogan, Lucia Lopez, Andrew Nemeth, and Jonathan Vargas. So congratulations to our 10 National Hispanic Recognition Scholars. October, we're also excited to celebrate LGBTQ History Month with activities aimed at supporting and celebrating our LGBTQ students and community. LGBTQ History Month encourages informative discussions to learn more about the leaders who continue to drive equality forward, and LT is excited to host activities throughout the upcoming weeks to celebrate LGBTQ+ History Month. October is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which has an overall aim of raising awareness about the impact of breast cancer. When we raise our voices together, we help spread the word about the importance of breast cancer screenings and support. As always, LT hosts a variety of pink outs and other events throughout the month of October to support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Moving along to our FOIA report. Since our September meeting, we've received 3 FOIA requests. A local reporter requested a copy of the contract with SEIU Local 73 that the Board of Education approved at the September 19th meeting. A local reporter requested the salary amounts of the 40 highest paid employees in Hinsdale Township High School District 86 for the 2021-22 school year. And then an individual requested a list of all school district paraprofessional staff as of October 7th, 2022. So that's the FOIA report. And then finally, I want to end with our LTCAC consensus report. On September 21st, we hosted our first LTCAC meeting of the year. We have about 125 members on LTCAC this year, and we had 71 there in attendance for our first discussion. We were fortunate to have Dr. Tyrell and Kevin Brown with us that evening. They presented information related to a safety audit that was conducted this summer. Also, some information on our Start With Hello program, and then other information related to the threat assessment process that we utilize here at LT. All members had a chance to provide feedback on the presentation, and tonight we're fortunate to have our LTCAC Chair, Shelley Taylor, here with us to present the consensus feedback to the board. So, Shelley, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me tonight. So I've been a member of the LTCAC for a few years. Got the privilege of being the chair this year. The downside of that, I learned, is that you don't get to participate in the discussions. So thank you, Marilyn, for compiling the notes from all of the groups. I think the group did really enjoy the presentations. I think they're always very well done and well received. A few of the comments that came through, several of the members, and notably some of the student members, acknowledged the increased awareness of safety and appreciation of it, while recognizing that it's not taking precedence over other school priorities, and that was also very much appreciated. There were some questions about what the protocol are after school hours, when there are lots of activities, because the SRLT was actually happening while we were at a meeting, so there's a little follow-up there. There were a lot of questions just about communications. Dr. Waterman shared that the new website is coming soon. There's a lot of excitement about that, and some questions about how that might help with improving some of those communications, making sure that both parents and community as well as students are aware of changes in safety protocols and upcoming things or events that happen. There was also appreciation that the drill was held early in the year. Some discussion about one of the things that the groups discussed was more related to how we can kind of support our students better, and there was some discussion about how we can prepare students before the drills, as well as having resources available following the drills, because some students might experience more trauma from these experiences than others. So making sure those supports are in place, even as simple as just making sure that there's discussions in all the classrooms following the drills so that people have an opportunity to talk about their experience. And then some discussion as well about continued proactive mental wellness and support activities throughout the year. The program that was introduced at the beginning of the year was appreciated, and just hoping that that's ongoing, and that we're continuing to be aware of students' needs, and particularly helping students speak up who don't feel real comfortable doing that. And then related to that, in terms of extracurricular activities, there was some discussion about perhaps having more than one activity night, so that as students get a little more involved in the school year, they might get a better handle on their schedules and might find other things that are interesting to them that maybe they weren't interested in before or didn't think they had time for. And just finding different ways to get students involved. There are so many activities available, which is great, but we know that there are still some students who don't feel comfortable or don't find their place or don't feel welcomed, and just continuing to look for ways to find entry for them to participate in all the things that LT has to offer. That's everything I have.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Shelley just presented an overview, but on the LTCAC website, all the raw data and feedback from the meeting is posted. We're looking forward to our next discussion on November 9th. It's our next LTCAC meeting. So Shelley, thanks again for being here. And that concludes my superintendent report for this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley, for coming too tonight. Appreciate that. Is this the largest LTCAC group?
It is. Yep.
Okay, great.
Big group.
What's that?
Tell me who's going to have the largest group.
Yes, big group.
Yeah, a few extra challenges, but lots and lots of good information, I'm sure. Thank you. Okay, great. Next up, we have action items under unfinished business. Our first agenda item for the unfinished business section is the approval of the 2023-2024 school year calendar, second reading. Scott Aggerting.
Thank you, President Dillon. We are bringing forward a recommendation for next year's calendar. After some debate and discussion in September, we gave the community an opportunity to give some feedback, and we also, as you heard, spoke with the Faculty Association and other constituent groups about the calendar. The overwhelming preference was to start on August 21st. And in so doing, that means that we would have 83 attendance days first semester, 93 second semester. We would have final exams the week after Memorial Day. Other than that, there's really no other major changes or impacts on the calendar from either of the previous examples. The one thing we did talk about at the committee meeting in particular has to do with parent-teacher conferences. We are interested in trying to run a portion of those conference days during the school day, during the work day. For some folks who work in the evenings, that would be a better way for them to make conferences, and it actually gives more time on the 26th of October for conferences to be signed up. So right now we have a number of teachers who have as many as 20 or 30 callbacks they need to make who couldn't get in to see them. And this would give them the opportunity to have more slots. So other than that, I don't have any other major information to share, and you wait till that's done.
Yeah, we're trying to get Julie back on the call. She dropped off the call. So.
Anybody else have a question?
All right.
Thanks,
got
Julie.
Other than that, the number of days for faculty match the faculty negotiated agreement, and the students, 176, are the minimum required. And then we have the extra days built in at the end for emergency days, but with the opportunity to use online learning. We don't expect to use those, but we are required by statute to put them on. So be happy to answer any questions.
We've talked about this a few times, I think, and it's been out for community. You've received a lot of feedback, I know, over the last
Quite a
couple
bit,
months.
yeah, more than we have in the past. So.
Good. Okay, and we just heard from Andrew too, so it sounds like everybody's pretty comfortable with that? With this year's calendar? Yep. Great. Okay. So with that then, is there a motion to approve the 2023-2024 school year calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thanks, Jill. Second. Marilyn, will you call the roll, please?
Member Albert?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. And back to you, Scott. Our next agenda item is the approval of the curriculum change proposals for a second reading.
Yeah, so again, this is the second reading, so we've discussed these at both the September committee and board meetings as well as the October committee meeting. We have a number of course additions as well as some changes and a few drops. So I'll just briefly go through them and then be happy to answer any questions. We're looking, because we no longer use a darkroom for our darkroom photography course, we don't run that course anymore. So we are going to be replacing that with a digital photo art. That advanced digital photo art would have opportunities at both North and South Campus. So we feel that's a good change there. Our adaptive PE leaders class is an opportunity for students who work with students who have special needs in the PE area to get training to work with students and then help run those classes. It's a great pathway for students interested in the teaching profession. Basic self-defense, we're adding a male version as well. We have an opportunity for students who currently identify as female. This would give an opportunity, a little bit different curriculum, but for students who identify as male for self-defense. We would be combining our geology course and our astronomy course and create a Earth and Space Science course. We have a teacher who actually has an advanced degree in that area, and this would be a pretty exciting course to put together. We'll be adding a medical terminology course. We started this year with an introduction to healthcare careers that was extremely popular. This is the next in a sequence, and pretty much any student who wants to go in a medical pathway, medical terminology is essential. As far as our engineering classes, we're looking to make a level change there. Both of those courses earn dual credit through Triton Community College, and this would currently, you could get it for level 3 or level 4, and almost every student chooses level 4 anyway, so this is a natural change. Based on our interest in our robotics course, there's an interest also to add a robotics class. Robotics 1 and 2 are being presented and are recommended, and that would give students the opportunity to dive quite a bit deeper into a robotics area, which is a very up-and-coming and high-interest potential career and also activity here at LT. With AP Human Geography, our enrollment in Human Geography has dropped to 0, so we're recommending dropping that course. Our Incubator EDU class, which is essentially a year-long Shark Tank experience, is really more of an accelerated class than a prep level class, so that recommendation is to make that a level change there. And then this year, we're recommending dropping our humanities courses. That's humanities, English, world history, and reading. We believe that we can meet the needs of students in the regular prep level English and world history classes, and have employed an instructional coach to help those teachers this year, especially in the social studies area. So those are all recommended to be dropped. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. All proposals as presented are recommended by the administration.
Anybody else have any questions? Nope. Good? All right. Great, thanks. Is there then a motion to approve the curriculum change proposals as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Marilyn, can you call the roll, please?
Member Vega Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Albert?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you, Marilyn. Next up, we have new business, and our first agenda item under new business is the approval of the resolution to transfer funds. Brian Stachek.
Thank you, President Dillon. So, as we talked about at the Finance Committee meeting, this is a resolution authorizing the transfer of funds into our bond and interest fund. The reason that we're asking for this particular resolution is because, again, as we talked about, property tax collections in Cook County are very delayed at this particular point. Hopefully, we'll start to see some of those collections at the end of November, beginning of December, but we don't know that yet, as we don't even have, again, the final levy documents to suggest what that final tax levy from 2021 would be. And so therefore, what we have to do is we have essentially a bond and interest payment due on December 15th of $2,556,000. We have a cash balance, and I adjusted this down because I actually, when I gave you the number at the committee meeting, I had the fund balance, which includes accruals and that sort of thing in it. So I actually pulled that incorrect number. So we have a cash balance in there, $1,349,650.80. And so, therefore, what we'd be asking the board to do tonight is to authorize a transfer up to $1,206,642.20 into the bond and interest fund to make that December 15th payment if needed. And the reason I say if needed is because if we start to see property tax collections coming in, we will fill the bond and interest fund to the needed amount, and then we'll go ahead and make the payment without the transfer. The other issue, I think I mentioned this to the board as well at the committee meeting, is that if we move any money into the bond and interest fund, we can't move it back to the other fund that it really originally belonged to. So our real goal here is to make sure that we hopefully would be great if we don't have to transfer any money into that particular fund, but this allows us to do that in the event that we have to. And again, the district has enough cash on hand to make the payment, but that cash resides in other funds, in other ledger funds, and so in this particular case, we're asking for that potential transfer from the education fund over to the bond and interest fund in the amount of $1,206,642.20 if necessary. Be happy to answer any questions on that as we talked about.
Not a question. I think we asked a lot of questions when we talked about this at our committee meeting. But in November or December, you would let us know what happened, and if you did actually have to make the transfer and
That's
of
right.
the final amount, just to close the circle on this.
That's right. I will do that. That's correct.
Yep.
And hopefully by that time, I will also have the final 2021 tax levy, because the 2022 levy builds on that. And if I don't have those actual numbers, it's going to be difficult to present you with the accurate information. We will have it. I think it'll, hopefully, we were told by the end of October, which would be very helpful.
And Brian, from a historical perspective, we've done this before, right?
Not to the,
We haven't had to transfer.
no, not, well, to my knowledge, since I've been here, in the 9 bond and interest payments that we will be making since I've been here, we've never had to do this, because the property tax collections have never been
So
this,
delayed.
at least this late since I've been here.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, this is Julie. Can you remind us, and maybe you already said this, apologies, how often the bond and interest payments are made? Is it every 6 months? Is it once a year?
Yeah, it's a good question. They're made twice a year. So our payments are due on December 15th and then June 15th.
Okay, and so a historic cadence of the property taxes being billed on a more regular, I know that in some years past they've been off a month or two, but that's the reason, right? I mean, you've made that clear. The reason for the shortfall is the delay in the property tax billings and therefore receipts by Cook County. And so this, I think, despite the fact that that speaks to why we've never been in this situation, as opposed to any other concern about our funding or anything like that. Is that fair?
That is completely accurate. Had the county had the tax bills out when they normally do in August and, usually do September 1st or October 1st, even if it's a little bit later, we would have no issue with this whatsoever. And to your point, because they've been doing that, they've kept that fairly consistent schedule, that September, October range, for probably the last at least 9-10 years. We've not had any issues with it, and that's the only reason we're looking at this right now.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay, great. Thanks, Brian. Is there then a motion to adopt the resolution allowing for an amount not to exceed $1,206,642.20 to be transferred from the education fund to the bond and interest fund if needed?
So moved.
Second. Carolyn, can you call the roll, please?
Member Brett?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Rivera?
Yes.
Member BJ Daniels?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. And next up, we have our review of the bid results for the capital projects that you've looked into
Yes.
for us. Brian Stachek
Yes,
again.
thank you, President Dillon. First of all, I want to say thank you to the board for entertaining these on such short notice. We typically would go out on a bid schedule after we make the board recommends projects in August. We would go out and probably, we would be returning these in November, December, that time frame. But we felt it was much more advantageous, and the architects are really based on their recommendation to get out there as soon as we possibly could. So they really, got the specifications together at a much quicker pace than what we normally do, and we get out to bid. And we just opened up the bids this past Thursday. But again, we think it's to our advantage, and quite frankly, we think with some of the pricing that we saw here, we're in pretty good shape with that as well. So that being said, the first project we talk about is the North Campus Roof Replacement Project. And just as a quick refresher, that is a project where we are replacing the clay tile roof on the north section of the main North Campus building. So this building here. So if you were to go out exit 5, which is underneath the clock tower, pretty much from Cossett to Park, that front end of the building, that roofing is what will be replaced. And again, you may recall that is based on the recommendation from Brad Drake, our Director of Building and Grounds. That is the one that is most in need, and that's why this is the one that we're talking about here today. So last Thursday, we did receive 3 bids, with the lowest bid being from Knickerbocker Roofing in the amount of $680,000. You may recall that initially, when we looked at the estimates for this, we thought, now the architects gave me a range of about $800,000 to $1 million. I used the $1 million figure because that's generally how I look at it. And we are about $300,000, a little more than $300,000 less than what I had initially presented to the board as the initial estimate. So we think we're in good shape with that. The architects did have an opportunity to do a scope review with Knickerbocker Roofing on Friday of last week, and they have provided me with the information that they believe that they have the scope of the project in hand and are recommending that we approve the contract with Knickerbocker Roofing at tonight's board meeting. So that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the bid, the process, the numbers, anything along those lines. And by the way, we do believe this project will not be subject to any delays due to materials, anything along those lines. We think this one, we're pretty confident that will be good, to be finished up, wrapped up by the start of the school year next year.
Brian, just looking at all of the bids, that significant difference, is there any thought on why it always, when we see these, it just stands out?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me say welcome to bidding in 2022, first of all. And again, that even goes to the fact that when we were estimating dollar amounts, we're saying, we used to have a decent handle on what estimates would be. Right now, because of labor issues, because of supply chain issues, we really don't have a good handle on in terms of where these are going to come back and how they're going to come back. That being said, Knickerbocker Roofing also is a group that sort of specializes in this clay tile roofing, because I had this conversation with the architects. And the other two groups that are there, while they're good roofing contractors, we think that they probably had to sub out the clay tile portion of it. And so therefore, they probably had to bump up some of those numbers to make sure that they were covering the subs who would have been working with them on these clay tile projects, where we won't see that necessarily with Knickerbocker Roofing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's helpful. Thanks.
Sure.
And are there any other projects that we're doing as related to doing this roof?
There are not with this roof. This is just by itself.
Just by
There,
itself.
there is the alternate there, and the alternate is for a part of a flat roof over, essentially over the Reber Center stage, and we would certainly recommend we do that as well. But that flat roof is going to be different than the clay tile roof, but again, we certainly recommend doing it all, especially for this cost.
Thank you. Anybody else? Julie or Allison?
No, I love the numbers coming in lower than we expected. It's kind of nice to hear that side of things. But no, there's going to be, you said, Brian, there's no delays with this. You don't think there's any delays. Is this something that is this a summer only project, or do they do this while kids are still in school, or no?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said the magic word in that I don't believe or think that there will be any delays with this. And so we do believe right now that this project should be wrapped up by the start of the 2023-2024 school year, so August of 2023. That's what we've been told. Now, again, welcome to 2022 and construction in that arena.
I think her question is, could it start earlier? Does it have to be a summer project?
Oh,
Could it start earlier?
could it start
We probably
earlier?
wouldn't want to
No.
do that with students.
No,
on
and
campus.
the reason it could not start earlier is because ultimately what you're going to see out in the front of the building is when you go to the top of the clock tower, that's about a 5-story climb, and there will be scaffolding built, and that exit 5 essentially will be closed. So will much of the front, obviously the front end of that building as well.
It doesn't impact
Got it.
the
Okay.
street, though. It won't impact, like,
No, it won't impact the street at all.
considering.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, now I understand.
That's good, yeah. And I know the clay tiles has actually kind of been on the list, well, it's been on the list for a while, so this
Yeah.
is something that I think has been really chirping and needs to be addressed, so.
Yeah, and the clay tile roofs, just so you know, typically you expect a life expectancy out of them about 80 to 100 years. That's pretty common for clay tile roofs.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the North Campus roof replacement project contract in the amount of $680,000 to Knickerbocker Roofing?
So moved.
Second.
Marilyn, can you call the roll, please?
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Bear?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniel?
Yes.
Member Brush?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Thank you. Next up, we have the approval of the South Campus J-Wing air handler replacement project bid results. Brian Stachek again.
Thank you, President Dillon. And so I just want to call to your attention on the agenda that we have numbers 3 and 4, which the 3 is the J-Wing, and then 4 is LTTV and the library, the air handlers there. These are really all combined into this one document here. So ultimately, what our architects decided to do was bid the entire project as one project. They thought that was going to be advantageous to get it to one vendor. And so that's really what we did. So you have 3 and 4 really combined right here. And so, again, bids opened on October 13th. Let's just quickly refresh our memories of what these are. First of all, the base bid 1 is for replacement of the air handling units in the North Campus Library and the LTTV studio. Base bid 2 is at South Campus, the South Campus J-Wing, and that is the replacement of the air handlers in that facility, which in the J-Wing, which will also add air conditioning to the J-Wing as well once that is completed. And so those really are the 3 projects that we have here. And so ultimately, the lowest bidder was Voris Mechanical. They were the low bidder on each individual project as well as the total. So Voris Mechanical's low bid was for $2,262,500 for all 3 of these projects. And again, I can go back and tell you that when we were estimating these projects, we thought we were going to be in the range of somewhere between $3.5 and $4 million. And so we're actually seeing quite a bit less in terms of some cost here also. Again, I do have to just remind everybody that the conversation with the architects is that while we are recommending moving forward with these projects at this time, there is certainly a good chance that they will not be finished in the summer of 2023, but the contractors would have to come back in the late spring, early summer of June of 2024 and complete these projects. The reason for that is, again, we're anticipating a 40 to 50 week lead time on the outdoor portion of the air handling units. So they can do essentially they believe they can do all the indoor work on these. However, if we don't have the outside air handling units delivered until, let's call it September, October, there's a chance, obviously we can't disconnect those and not heat the facilities. So that's our biggest problem right there. And so if that's the case and we determine, look, they've been delivered too late in that process, then we're going to have to push the completion of these projects to that late spring, early summer, June of 2024. At least let's look at it that way. And so, again, these bids were fairly favorable. Really, they all were, but obviously Voris Mechanical was the best. Voris Mechanical has done work here in the district in the past. They did a summer project here for us in the summer of 2016, if I recall correctly, and that was actually adding air conditioning to facilities above this wing of North Campus, and then also through the administrative section of the building, replacing air handling units and air conditioning units there as well. So, again, the recommendation from the architects would be to move forward at this point with the Voris Mechanical bid and award them the contract at tonight's board meeting. Be happy to answer any questions on that.
So if we don't get the air handlers in time, does this pricing stand for them to finish this project in the beginning of the summer of 2024?
So that's a question, that's something we're gonna have to talk with them about and see as we go through that process. There could be some additional cost to store those units if we have to. And as pointed out here, there is a $50,000 allowance in both of these. And so that's already included in this total contract amount. So we could go into some of those $50,000 allowances if we had to cover the cost of storing the equipment. But again, we don't really even know, we couldn't predict right now what that cost would be because we wouldn't even know how long we would be storing it for.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons we have those, I don't want to say substantial, but they are somewhat substantial allowances for these projects in there.
So when they bid on this, they're bidding on this project based upon the belief that they would finish it in the summer of 2023 before the school year starts?
I think that's accurate, also knowing full well that we have these allowances in there too, that if they carry us over into that 2024 year, then we would have those available to us as well. because they have to build those into their bid structure, their bid cost.
Yeah, I think that would have been probably my question too, is that we're gonna be, we won't, the plan would be not to exceed this dollar amount, except for the additional 50,000 allowance.
Right.
Is that we don't wanna go more farther along. And
That's correct.
have them totally flip the switch on us and change some kind of
That's correct.
contract price to complete the work.
That's right.
So,
And based on what the architects are telling us, they feel that essentially you have, $50,000 in the bid one allowance, and $50,000 in the bid two allowance, $100,000 there. They feel that we'll be fine with that.
cool. Yeah, I was pretty pleased to see that it was below what we thought it might come in at, so.
Yeah, that was surprising. I have to tell you, again,
Yeah.
in this particular economy, in this particular market, that
Holding our
was
breath a lot.
surprising to
Yeah.
us. But pleasantly surprising, let's put it that way.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take it. Anybody else? Okay, I have this,
Yeah, so you're gonna wanna do
yeah.
two different.
yeah, I'm gonna actually ask us to motion for each of the amounts for each part of the project. So first, can we have a motion to approve the North Campus roof replacement? Oh, I'm sorry, we did that one already.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Did that one.
Can we have a motion then to approve the South Campus J-Wing Air Handler Replacement Project contract in the amount of $1,225,400 to Voris Mechanical, Inc.?
So moved.
Thanks, Allison.
Second.
And Jill. And Marilyn, if you call the roll, please.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes, thank you. And then finally, the next item up is the approval of, sorry, we just discussed it, I'm sorry, I'm reading off my script here. Can we have a motion then to approve the North Campus Library and LTTV Air Handler Replacement Project contract in the amount of $1,037,100 to Voris Mechanical, Inc.?
So moved.
Thank you, Dawn. Second. Thanks, Jill. And Marilyn, if you'll call the roll, please.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly? Member Kelly?
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes, thank you, Marilyn.
Just one final item I forgot to mention during that, as I look at our FY '23 budget, I may end up revising that because we certainly have more money in the Fund 60 budget than what we're going to need for these.
right.
So we've kind of talked about that, and I kind of mentioned that at the time when we adopted the budget. So I will look at that, and then I will bring that back to the board probably after the first of the year at some point.
Okay, great. That's good. Thank you for that. Okay, next up, we have our consent agenda. Is there a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented this evening?
So moved.
Thanks, Jill.
Second.
Thanks, Jill. Marilyn, can you please call the roll?
Member O'Bear?
Yes.
Member Vita Daniels?
Yes.
Member Gretsch?
Yes.
Member Kelly?
Yes.
Member Swinehart?
Yes.
Member Thomas?
Yes.
Member Dillon?
Yes. Great. Thank you, everybody. At this time, we will begin the non-agenda related portion of our public comments. Marilyn, do we have any non-agenda related items? We do. Great. I'd like to just remind our group that we thank you for joining us at tonight's meeting, and that there are two opportunities for our audience members to address the Board of Education. We have agenda-related comments that are welcome at the beginning. We have non-agenda-related comments that we entertain before we adjourn. We appreciate community participation, but please understand the board does not engage in dialogue or discussion. If there is a specific question or comment that requires follow-up, the appropriate administrator will respond at a later time. And lastly, pursuant to board policies 2, 230, and 830, individuals addressing the board are expected to conduct themselves with respect and civility. In the interest of time, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Thank you for cooperating with us to make this evening's meeting efficient and productive. Marilyn, if you can call our first speaker.
Becky Lawrenson?
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give a shout out to the board and the administration for the wonderful strategic plan work that you were doing. which has diversity as an underpinning. I should say diversity, equity, and inclusion as an underpinning for everything, and look forward to seeing how that plays out. And also for inviting us to the wonderful presentation of Dr. Tyrell Howard, which was very engaging and very interesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Harold Gibson. And then Leslie Mendoza.
Thank you guys. So I'm a recent graduate of LT. I just graduated this past spring. And I've been moving ahead and been working with Turning Point USA for the last couple of years. Like you guys know, I was the president of the chapter here and tried to get it started here for the last 2 years at LT. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. There's several reasons, which we tried to fight back with the stipend committee several times. We went back with administrators and tried to review everything we could possibly do to get this chapter approved to create a space where conservative students, or any conservatives for that matter, can come out, enjoy discussion, and without fear of retaliation. Turning Point USA is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that teaches students about the benefits of the free market, limited government, the principles of freedom, the basis and ideals that this nation was founded on. And to see that a group like that is discarded and completely ignored, it kind of feels like you guys have done everything to try to keep conservatives off of campus. But then we go and we have a Black Lives Matter mural down in the basement, and we spend all this money trying to promote other ideas, and we have diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we have all these things that promote inclusion, but it seems like that's far from it. So we have students that are trying to bring the chapter back, that are taking over my position, that are trying to continue the fight with the administrators and the stipend committee. And they've secured meetings with our director of equity and inclusion to see if that can somehow help. But I just want to say I hope to see in the future that there's more of an effort to create a space and a district where all students can feel included. 3 of your seats are up in spring, and I feel like that should be concerning for a few of you. But parents, get out for your kids. Make this district what it used to be. Fix it up.
Marilyn? Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. That concludes our non-agenda related public comments. And that also concludes our meeting. If we can have a motion then to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
Great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.